The Cathari scientists had expected many things from humans: fear, resistance, defiance, maybe even crude retaliation. What they had not expected was immunity to their most precise biological weapon, and certainly not from a pair of ordinary-looking humans, Susan Hale and Evan Mercer. From the moment the humans were captured, the Cathari had behaved as if victory were merely a matter of waiting. Their toxin, VX-17, had been designed after centuries of studying hundreds of species across the Orion Spur. It dissolved neural connections in minutes, reduced immune responses to ash, and left victims docile, confused, and dying. No species had survived it. None had even resisted it. Yet here Susan and Evan sat in containment, whispering to each other through the shimmering barrier of their cell, looking tired but undeniably alive. Evan pushed a hand through his dark, unkempt hair. "They're watching again." Susan, pale and calm despite everything, lifted her chin slightly. "Let them." She had an eerie steadiness, the kind of quiet confidence that scared even Evan sometimes. The more they watch, the more they'll realize they've made a mistake. He gave a small, humorless laugh. "A mistake might be optimistic. They tried to kill us, and now they're studying us like lab mice." "Then we show them," she replied, her blue eyes cold. "Humans aren't mice." High above them in the observation deck, Chief Biologist Ralek clicked his mandibles in confusion. The blood samples on the hollow screen pulsed with unfamiliar activity. Antibody chains glowed in colors no Cathari program had ever displayed before, shifting and recombining in real time. "This should be impossible," Ralek muttered. He turned to his assistant. "Run VX-17 interaction modeling again." The assistant complied. The simulation froze after 7 seconds, longer than any species had lasted, then shattered into red anomalies. Again. 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 Each time, the human blood countered the toxin faster. Finally, the assistant dared to speak. "Chief, are we certain the humans were exposed to the full dose?" "I administered it myself," Ralek hissed. "They should be dead." But they weren't, and their blood was doing something no blood had ever done. It was learning. Back in the cell, Susan leaned against the wall, exhaling slowly. "Evan, your arm okay?" He looked down. The injection mark where they had taken his 9th blood sample throbbed a dull red. "I can handle it. What I can't handle is not knowing what they want." Susan's lips pressed into a thin line. "We know what they want. They want to know why we survived." "And do we know why?" he asked. Susan hesitated. For the first time, uncertainty flickered across her face. "I don't think we survived because of anything special," she said quietly. "I think we survived because humans adapt faster than they understand. Faster than anyone understands." Evan frowned. "That's not science." "It's human biology," she said, "and human stubbornness." Down in the laboratory, panic spread through the Cathari research staff. Not fear of the humans, fear of the discovery itself. The antibodies weren't just neutralizing VX-17, they were dissecting it, mapping it, and rewriting themselves in real time. They were storing the toxin structure like a memory, then passing that memory to other cells. Human blood was preparing for a second attack, a third, 1,000. But the final breakthrough came when Ralek magnified the structure of the antibodies down to the quantum level. He froze. There, embedded within the molecular pattern, was something no weapon designer had ever predicted. The antibodies were communicating, not merely signaling, networking, like billions of microscopic minds coordinating a strategy. "This is not an immune response," Ralek whispered. "It is a battlefield." Hours later, Ralek entered the containment chamber, surrounded by guards. Susan and Evan stood as he approached the barrier. "You are not ordinary," Ralek said, voice trembling with scientific disbelief. "No species should be able to counter VX-17. Yet your cells evolved faster than any biological system we have ever encountered. Explain. Evan raised an eyebrow. Explain? You poisoned us. It was a controlled exposure, Raleigh snapped. Susan stepped forward calmly. Your weapon didn't work because you don't understand what humans are. And what are you? Raleigh demanded. She smiled, not cruelly, but with a strange softness. We're the result of surviving our own world. Everything on Earth is trying to kill us all the time. Pathogens, viruses, bacteria, predators, toxins, radiation. Our immune systems are forged in constant war. Evan nodded. Your toxin wasn't the first thing that tried to rewrite our biology. It's just the newest. Susan added, humans don't evolve slowly. We adapt mid-crisis. Raleigh stared at her. She wasn't boasting. She wasn't threatening. She was explaining a fact. Later, when Raleigh reviewed the final blood tests, he understood the greater horror. The antibodies were already mutating again, incorporating Cathari genetic signatures. They were preparing for new toxins, new diseases, anything a Cathari might use. Humanity wasn't just immune to VX-17 now. They might be immune to the entire Cathari biological arsenal. He felt a chill run through his exoskeleton. Humans were not the weak species the galaxy believed them to be. They were apex survivors. That night, if the artificial ship cycle could be called night, Susan whispered to Evan, "They're scared of us now." Evan swallowed. Good. Maybe that keeps us alive long enough to get out. But Susan shook her head. It's more than that. They're reconsidering the entire invasion. He stared. You think this changes everything? She looked back at the camera in the corner of their cell. I think they just realized humans are the one species they can't afford to provoke. Not because we're stronger, not because we're smarter. Her voice lowered. But because whatever they throw at us, we come back stronger next time. One cycle later, Raleigh made an unprecedented announcement to the Cathari Council. The invasion of Earth must be cancelled, he said, forcing the words out. Human biology is not just resistant, it is dangerously adaptive. Any biological conflict with humans risks creating a species immune to our entire arsenal, perhaps even capable of weaponizing it back at us. A murmur of shock rippled through the council chamber. Raleigh continued, his tone grim. In studying them, we may have awakened something new. Something evolution has been preparing in their genome for millions of years. If provoked further, humanity will not merely survive. They will excel. And that, Raleigh finished, mandibles trembling, is how our empire dies. Back in their cell, Susan sensed the shift. Guards now kept their distance, scientists avoided eye contact, and food was delivered without comment. Evan leaned close and whispered, I think we won. No, Susan murmured, eyes shining with something fierce and limitless. We haven't even started. Because humans were survivors, because humans evolved under pressure, and because no alien empire understood the most dangerous truth of all. Humanity always grows strongest in the dark.